So moving on, we've also, one of the things we don't really talk about that much, and what people probably aren't aware of, is that with game development, there's also quite an important time, which is your release window. So, as customers, you probably don't think about it too much. As we get towards Christmas, there's a lot of games coming out. At the moment, it's very overrun with games. And, developers and publishers, they have deadlines to meet. So, typically when a game's a month or a couple of months away from being launched, there's a big marketing plan with it to make sure that everything releases and it's all coincide in time. That being said, there was a bit of a weird anomaly that happened last week, when Fallout 4 was released. So on the same day that Fallout 4 was released, quietly, the new Tomb Raider title came out as well. I must specify here that it came out just for Xbox One, but as far as I'm aware, they, I didn't really hear much about it. I'm waiting for it on PC next year, but they released it on the same day as Fallout, which is quite strange, and I can't really see why they would do that. And because of that, they've also really limited or really sold a lot less retail units on Xbox than they did for the last game, which came out in 2013. So in 2013, they actually had 3 times as many, and that was only 2 years ago, and they sold 180,000 copies in the first day, while this year they've only sold 63,000 copies. So, I mean, they're not particularly, these people making the decisions of when they're releasing things. I mean, the game was announced as an Xbox exclusive, which is fine. I mean, we have to wait until Q1 next year before we see it on PC, and it's going to be Q4 next year when you'll actually see it coming out on on a PlayStation as well. So for me, I've sort of been thinking, like, why would they release it on this day, and why wouldn't there be that much marketing around it when it's around a game like Fallout 4? So the 3 people involved in making this kind of decision, so it mainly would have been potentially developers, so Crystal Dynamics, the developers of it. So, I imagine they want to get it. I mean, they probably wouldn't have as much say as a release date as the publisher, but they want it to be out. They want it to be advertised. So the publisher is also Square Enix. So Square Enix would have had quite a bit of, they would have had quite a bit of say of when it was coming out. But I think the main people who would have said this would have been Microsoft's. So obviously Microsoft are making a bit of an Xbox exclusive, and it just seems really weird that they've chosen to release it on the same day as Fallout, with clearly a decrease in sales than they had the last time they released it on Xbox. And I just can't really get my head around why they do it. I guess there's a couple of reasons. So I guess from first point, from sort of Tom, your perspective, like how important a release window is, and can you see sort of any underlying logic or reasoning behind the decision for releasing it then?
Honestly, like, release windows are one of the most, like, for media in general, it's very important. You look at films and you look at music and games alongside. You don't release 2 massive things at the same day. Films do it all the time. If 2 films are scheduled to release on the same day, one of them will shift it back a week or 2 weeks or something like that. So they got everyone wanting to go watch it. Same with music. Like, if the next big CD's coming out and someone's released it on the same day, or even singles, you push it back a week, you push it back a couple of days, something like that. So you get everyone talking about it that week. And games generally do the same. You don't normally get 2 massive titles on the same day. You normally space them out. I can see they're trying to get it in before Christmas to get all the Christmas sales and to get everything like that sorted. But there's another 4 weeks between now and Christmas. There's 4 weeks before Fallout 4 came out that you could have released it for the Christmas rush, effectively. And to my knowledge, there's not a hell of a lot of big titles coming out between now and Christmas. They're all sort of out now. I think there might be 1 or 2, but there's plenty of time to launch it then. It just seems like a really backwards decision that they've made, to be honest.
I mean, it must be a mistake. So just to put it in perspective as well, so the game isn't a bad game according to the critics as well. So on Metacritic now, it gets an average user score of 8.1. Metacritic give it an 86. Overwhelmingly positive. The last game I really, really enjoyed. So, I mean, it's not necessarily a bad game, but I mean, it has to be Microsoft or someone like who's. I mean, I don't understand what the interests, whose interests could lie within releasing the game at that specific date and that time, and like, yeah, I just can't make sense of it. Jack, if you got any sort of thoughts on it, I mean, can you think of anyone who's to gain from releasing it on that date, or why they wouldn't, or why no one would have stepped in Or
Well, the only thing like you is I think that maybe Microsoft helped fund development or something. That's the only reason that it's like coming out now on their console and then on their operating system and then way later on Sony. But I think the numbers are kind of misleading though. So if we're saying Tomb Raider, this one has sold 63,000 copies, and that's only on Xbox One, and that's at the same time as Fallout 4 being released, and that's with like barely any marketing, and that's pretty much just a third of what it made on the last game, and it's only come out on a third of the platforms it's out on. And I know that a lot of people I know played on PC. I know a lot of people have PS4s, and so I wonder if maybe it's just a way to get free extra marketing just by people knowing it exists and hearing that it did well on the Xbox. Maybe it seems strange to me, but it doesn't. I don't think it will hurt the overall sales in the end.
I don't think overall. I think for Xbox owners, it is just weird. Someone's going to get sacked for this, I would think. Like,
or already have.
Oh, they already have. I mean, but why wouldn't you delay it? Why wouldn't you push it back? I mean, I didn't see any marketing for it. I mean, Rob, is this something that you played before, or?
I've lost interest in the Tomb Raider games since they added all the QuickTime events in, but I've sort of.
That's a harsh assessment.
No, it's not. When the first quarter of an hour of the game is just a different variation of 4 or 5 different QuickTime events. But I have kept an eye on them to see what they're doing. I was quite amused to go into game on the day that it came out, and the girl behind the till was wearing a Lara Croft outfit with all the blood down her arm and on her face. And the woman in front of me actually got to the till and went, I'm really sorry, I've got to ask, why are you dressed like that? No one else has anything on. And the girl just went, I just wanted to remind people that Tomb Raider's out. And the woman was like, oh, is that out today? Oh yeah, I can see the boxes behind the till now. It's like, it's not only did they release it on a bad day, they didn't even market it. People, I don't think, were aware that another Tomb Raider game was even on the horizon. It's almost as though, I kind of hope they are a little bit ashamed that they're not just holding it back, but they're holding it back for a year, which is probably one of the biggest gaps I've seen. And I personally hope that it does so badly that it just kind of starts opening developers' eyes that you can't keep doing that. You cannot keep punishing the people who didn't buy the console that you're holding it back from. Yeah. It's a bad sales tactic, I think, for developers and publishers, and they need to kind of learn that.
I think the problem there, though, is it's going to be Microsoft incentivizing that, isn't it? It's going to be them saying, well, we'll give you this much, and then you won't get it. I mean, it still doesn't make sense why they release it on the same day as Fallout, though. Like,
it might. I said it as a sort of a comical thing to begin with, but maybe it's to like hide it now, since it's only coming out on one console for a year, and then do a proper release when it comes out on everything else. Yeah. I said that in a funny way to begin with, but I'm now starting to wonder, is that what they're doing? Is it like, are they actually ashamed to a point where like, maybe if we can get away with this and get people to actually focus on it when it comes out on everything else? But I don't know. Or it could have just been a really, really stupid oversight.
I don't think people aren't stupid. They're not going to be. There's going to be a committee of people sat in a room talking about exactly this for completely opposite reasons, probably, of why we're talking about it. And there's definitely some hidden incentives in there. But yeah, I mean, you think Square Enix and Microsoft would have to agree on this. So yeah, whether it is just a quiet launch for the rest of the other games coming out later next year, I guess that does make sense a bit. But yeah, weird. But I guess positive side, the game's looking good. It's it's getting good reviews. I'm looking forward to it a bit.
I really enjoyed the last one. I thought it was really good. I mean, I do agree though. I think that the game has lost, like, the tomb raiding. The name of the fucking game was the worst part of the game. It's like, go in here and do one puzzle. And so I remember when I was a kid and I played Tomb Raider 1. I remember you get to this room and there's just walls and it's just like, yeah, deal with this motherfucker. That's a puzzle. Like, and this game's like, oh, the shiny bits, you can do it. But apart from that, I thought the story was cool. I loved the atmosphere of the game and like how exciting it was. And I thought it was cool to make a bit more of a human Lara Croft. I thought her character was really interesting in the first game, and I'm excited to see where they go with it in the next one, like with the franchise and the narrative and stuff.
I feel bad for Lara Croft now because she went through hell in that last game. Like, doesn't everyone she tried to help ended up dying, and it was just like a mess. And she swam through. It was a brilliant game though. I love that game. But
my Lara Croft kicked ass. Like, and We got off this island scot-free, everyone alive.
Well, I don't know. It could just be more a reflection of my ability to play games, but who
I
knows?
would never suggest such a thing.